Hello and welcome. I'm your lecturer John Kabucho, taking you auditing and assurance. Today we are looking on lesson 2 on the topic internal control system. In this topic we are looking on the ICS in practice, the areas that you're supposed to put ICS and practice it properly. The ICS in practice will be looking on these particular issues. ICS, remember, based on the previous lesson we said ICS is what? Internal control system in practice. ICS in practice. So here we are going now to the entity directed to the company, and we'll be introducing now the areas in the company that we are supposed to work out. To be specific, we are looking on the internal control system on 1, purchases. We call this one purchases cycle. On 2, sales cycle. And on 3, we'll be looking on the ICS in salaries and wages. Salaries and wages. This is number 3. We're also going to be looking on stock, but we can combine stock with what? Purchases, because what you purchase is what becomes stock. And we have payments. Payments are done using what? We purchase, then we have stock, and then we make the payment. So we're also going to combine that one with payments. If we'll be talking about sales and debtors, then we'll introduce debtors there. So we'll discuss sales and debtors. And then we're also going to say, once you sell, you're supposed to collect the money, and therefore we have collections. Collections there. The salaries and wages will cover the payroll. The payroll. Those are the specific areas of control that we are going to be looking at. We can also introduce the fixed asset, though based on the previous lessons we mentioned that fixed assets are supposed to be using general controls. However, let me first of all clear with this particular part. I'm going to start with the purchases cycle. Look the way I explain the purchases cycle and understand that one. There is a cycle that you need to know in purchases that can tell you which controls you are going to put in place there. The cycle of purchases is a stream of events that are conducted in purchases. The streams of events in purchases will start with, if you are purchasing goods, the first activity that you need to do is referred to as requisitioning. Requisitioning. The requisitioning activity is followed by, once you requisition, you have to order. We call that ordering. Ordering is followed by another activity. We refer to it as receipt of goods. Receipt of goods and services. And once you receive the goods and services, the next thing you do is to do what? You wait for the invoice. We provide the statement there, and we call that process invoicing. If you receive an invoice, and then the invoice requires you to pay, you cannot pay unless you maintain an account known as the creditors, and therefore we have accounting. Accounting is followed now by payments. And that will bring to the end the activities in what? In purchases cycle. So the purchase cycle has majorly 6 main activities. Once you place a requisition to the main person, he will make an order, and then they will receive the goods, we do the invoicing, then we do the accounting, and then we do the payment of those particular goods. Once you know these particular 5 activities, the next thing, or 6 activities, the next thing you need to do is to discuss now the objectives. Why do we need to achieve, or what do we want to achieve when we're introducing the purchase cycle? So we are here in the purchase cycle. We'll be coming to the sales cycle, and then we are going to come maybe to salaries and wages. This particular part here of purchases, each particular stage has an objective. So I'm looking on those particular activities, and I'm introducing the objective. Why are we interested with introducing the what? This one is called the purchases cycle objective or control objectives on salaries and wages. Objectives on salaries. Sorry, it's not salaries and wages, it's purchases and payments, or purchases and creditors. On purchases and creditors. If you want to design your own objectives, which are specific or which are specific to that question, you can start with this particular point. You can say the reason why you want to introduce controls in purchases is to ensure that the goods that were ordered for have been ordered using the right quantity, the right quality, and at the best price possible. To ensure right quality of the goods. Quality goes together with what? Quantity. And at the best terms. And best terms available. So you want to purchase goods which are of the right quantity, the right quality, and using the best price possible. And that becomes my first what? My first objective. I also want to make sure whenever I'm making an order, all the orders have been authorized and those orders have been received and the goods have been inspected and have been accepted. To ensure that all goods received have been inspected and accepted. So I have my objective number 2. Look the way I'm designing my objective. They're coming from the what? The activity. Activity 1 was requisitioning and ordering. Active number 2 is receipt of goods. So we want to make sure that the goods that we have received are of the right quality. But apart from that one, we have to make sure that those goods have been accepted and have been inspected and accepted. We also want to make sure that all the invoices that we receive, those invoices are accurate and they have been charged using the correct prices and the correct maybe details have been provided. To ensure that all invoices received are accurate and complete. We do not want a situation whereby you purchased goods and then the invoice was inflated, such that now you're paying for goods that were not maybe required, or you're paying for goods at a higher price than maybe what had been expected. And that becomes another objective, to ensure that if we received an invoice, that invoice is accurate and it contains all the details that are supposed to be contained there. We can also provide an objective based on that point of the accounting. And therefore, I'm going to put objective number 4 here, to ensure that all invoices received have been accounted for and all the transactions relating to purchases have been accounted for. We say to ensure that all purchases or purchase invoices have been accounted for, promptly and accurately. That becomes my objective number 4. I'm going to introduce one more objective based on what? Based on the payments. So here we are introducing the payments. The payment, we need to know what exactly do you want to achieve with the payment. That is the objective that is going to be the last objective here. The last objective will say to ensure that there is no unauthorized payments on the purchases. No unauthorized payments on the purchases. Number 5, to ensure that no unauthorized payments on purchases. You see, it's very simple. It is based on the activities that are involved. Activity number 1 was ordering. Activity number 2 was receipt of goods. Activity number 3 was invoicing. Activity number 4 was what? Accounting. Activity number 5 was payment. All of them, they are giving me what? Objectives. Once I clear those objectives, remember those are called control objectives. The next thing I have to introduce is control procedures. The controls themselves. Control procedures. The control procedures, again, are based on the main activity. The first activity that we have mentioned was what? Was ordering. That was the first activity. And it was going together with what? Requisitioning. So if you want to design control on ordering, then the controls should be specific to that particular area. For example, we must make sure that all orders made have been requisitioned for using the right form and using the right maybe authority. So control number 1. All purchases should be requisitioned using forms pre-numbered requisition forms. And by a senior official. So do not allow in your company any good to be purchased without first of all requisitioning. This involves perhaps a senior person saying that we don't have this, and then ordering for that thing. These requisition forms are taken to the purchasing department, and then the purchasing department is supposed to go ahead and do what? Place an order. So we say, number 2, all orders should be authorized by an independent senior official. By independent senior official. So do not purchase goods in a company unless someone senior has stated that we are going to purchase that particular item. We call that authorization. And apart from authorization, we have number 3, all ordering should be done using pre-numbered order forms. All ordering should be evidenced on pre-numbered order forms. I don't think that is difficult. This is the main control, that all order forms should be pre-numbered, and then we can introduce other controls on the order forms, and that is going to be on that side. So I'm going to introduce still part on the ordering. Remember, we are still on ordering before we go to receipt of goods. So we say order forms should be kept in safe custody. We do not want maybe order forms to be stolen in a company. That becomes my point number 4. My point number 5, there should be sequence checks of the order forms and missing documents investigated. There should be sequence checks for order forms and missing documents investigated.